You already did the hard part. You learned the software, figured out the workflows, sat through all the trainings. So why are you only getting paid once for all that? Most people go to work, get the job done, and move on. But what if you could take those same skills and get paid again on your own terms? Today I'm going to show you how to get paid twice by turning your 9-to-5 expertise into income without quitting your day job. Your 9-to-5 is an untapped gold mine. Most of us underestimate what we know because it feels ordinary to us. You show up to work, you solve problems, you move on with your day. But at the end of the day, what feels ordinary to you is extraordinary to someone who's just starting out. In my corporate retention marketing job, I spent years writing campaigns, testing subject lines, analyzing customer behavior, and building systems to keep customers coming back. For me, that was just another Tuesday. But when I published my book on email marketing, I thought it was basic stuff, but I quickly realized that those basics were exactly what entrepreneurs were struggling with. That book didn't sell much because I launched it with no audience and no launch plan, but it cracked something open for me. My 9-to-5 skills were valuable outside of the company I worked for. Later, I created my first shortcut product, a simple, low-priced, approachable product. And when that first sale came through, it wasn't just a few dollars. It was validation that people would actually pay me for what I knew. And that moment made me realize I wasn't just an employee, I could also become a creator. So, what do repackaged skills actually look like? So, here's a question I always hear. Well, what would I even sell? The good news is you don't need to invent something new. You just need to repackage what you've already mastered. If you're the spreadsheet person in your office, turn your formulas into a cheat sheet or a reference guide. If you've built checklists to keep projects moving, turn them into a printable planner or a Trello board. If you've created trainings for coworkers, that's the outline for a mini course that you can teach. If you've learned shortcuts in Canva, Photoshop, or QuickBooks, sell it as a starter kit or a walkthrough video. If you're the one everyone asks to organize events or manage projects, package your timelines and your workflows as a resource bundle. Even soft skills count. If you've nailed delegating, onboarding, or running client meetings, you can sell scripts, frameworks, or swipe files. Think about what people already come to you for. That's your clue. For me, the clue was email marketing. At work, I was always breaking big campaigns into smaller steps to keep customers engaged. And I realized that skill, breaking things down into simple, doable pieces, was something people would happily pay me for. My shortcut product was basically me repackaging my skills using a process that I'd been refining for years in my corporate job into something others could use. And here's the important part. Keep it clean. Don't resell your company's materials. We're talking about rebuilding from scratch in your own way based on the processes and skills that you've already learned. And always keep your side hustle separate from your 9-to-5. Nights and weekends only is how I do it. All right, so you don't have to be a guru. Here's the mental block that stops a lot of people. Who am I to sell this? Well, that was me. Even after 30 years in marketing, I thought, there are people way ahead of me, way more popular than me. Why would anyone listen to me? Well, here's what changed. When people started watching my YouTube videos and using my shortcut product, they told me it finally clicked for them because I explained it simply. And that's when I realized something powerful. People don't want a guru at the top of the mountain. They want a guide who's just a few steps ahead of them. Someone who's relatable. Think of it this way. If you're learning to play guitar, you don't want a world-class rock star like Slash showing you complex riffs. I mean, maybe you do, but you'd be overwhelmed, right? So you want the person who just mastered their first song to show you how to hold the chords. That's who you are for your audience, not the guru, the guide. Okay, now we want to package small and sell smart. Here's where a lot of people overcomplicate things for themselves. They think they need a full-blown course, a fancy website, and a huge audience. That's overwhelming, and overwhelm leads to procrastination. Instead, think small. Think testable. A digital product priced under $30. A plug-and-play template. A 5-day email tutorial. A 1-page resource guide with affiliate links. a checklist bundle, or a swipe file. These small products are powerful because they lower the barrier to entry for you and for your customer. They let you test the waters without spending months building something huge. That's what my shortcut did. It wasn't my dream course. It was intentionally small. It gave people a quick win, and it gave me proof that this whole get paid twice concept works. If this video gave you a new idea that got you excited, give it a like. And if you make it to the end and walk away with actionable steps, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you'll have more support and strategies waiting for you each week. And to give you some momentum right now, here are 2 quick confidence building steps that you can take today. Go to Google or Etsy and search for digital products in your area of expertise. So if you're great with spreadsheets, search Excel template. If you're a project manager, search project checklist. You'll be amazed at how many people are already selling simple products like the ones you could make. And I want you to write down 1 skill that people already ask you about at work. That's often your easiest starting point. If your coworkers always come to you for design help, for organizing a system, or for fixing a tech issue, that's not random. That's a signal. Taking these tiny steps proves to yourself that there's a demand, and it shows you that you're not starting from zero. You've already got something valuable. You just need to package it. And here's why this hits differently after mid-career, okay? It's especially powerful if you're mid-career. By now, you've put in the reps. You've built credibility. You've seen what works and what doesn't, and that gives you a huge advantage. You're not guessing. You know what works. When I finally leaned into this at 53, I realized I didn't need to reinvent myself. I didn't need another certification or a seminar. I didn't need to chase trends. I just needed to repackage what I'd already been doing for decades and make it available to people who needed it now. Getting paid twice isn't about hustling harder. It's about leveraging the work that you've already done. Once for your paycheck, once for passive income. And if you're ready to brainstorm your first product, grab my free guide, 10 digital products you can create in a weekend. It'll help you spot the fastest way to package your skills. The link's down in the description. Now, if this sparks something for you, don't stop here. Watch this next video where I show you how to start making money online using just Canva and ChatGPT. It's a simple, practical way to turn your existing expertise into something people will pay you for. Keep watching. You're closer than you think. Here's to your success. I'll see you next week. If this saved you time or gave you clarity, please hit like and subscribe. I've got a lot more videos coming and they're all made with you in mind.